money, all things finance. So I hope everyone packed their lunch today, brown paper bagged it, so you can save a little bit of money, give your pocketbooks and your wallets a bit of a break. But today we are going to talk about federal contracting and how your business can be set up to strategically be successful with federal contracting. Last year, in 2010, the U.S. federal government spent over $500 billion on federal contracts. And that doesn't even equate in some of the other factors like insurance and some of the other things that you have to factor into being an actual contractor for the federal government. So today's special guest is Richard Lassiter from Success Strategic. He is a consultant who has worked with government contracting for several years, and he's also done a lot of other things in the political arena. But say hello to everyone, Rich, excuse me.
Good afternoon.
How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Kamari.
Not a problem. Thank you for taking the time out to meet with us.
Absolutely.
Well, before we jump into it, let's give everybody a brief overview of who Rich Lassiter is.
Rich Lassiter is a West Philadelphia native who has spent his life growing up in an entrepreneurial family. My grandfather owned a fish market at 52nd and Haverford. That's where I had my first job when I was 12, and I caught the bug. The bug of actually providing a value-adding service to the community for a fee.
For a fee. So nothing for free?
Community service is free,
Okay. All right.
That's all.
All right. Now give us a little bit of background on you. I know you've done some political work. You've done some banking. Just give the listeners and let them know why you are a credible candidate to be here on Lunch Money with Kamari.
Okay. Graduate of Temple University. I started my career at First Union National Bank, which is now Wells Fargo, in 1998. Saw a need for small businesses in 2001 where most businesses, and if you're a business owner, you know this, most businesses do not fit into the cookie-cutter model of lending for large banks. So myself and two partners created a lending firm where we would negotiate and creatively finance deals for small businesses that had the credit but just needed an underwriter and a business development guy to understand exactly what they were trying to accomplish, what value that added, and how it would be monetized later to ensure to our lenders that they could meet debt service coverage. Now, for the listeners, debt service coverage is a ratio that banks use when calculating whether or not you can repay the loan. And you want that number to be as low as possible.
Now, you talk about business owners being bankable, basically, and I don't think a lot of people understand that. And that actually could be a whole nother episode in and of itself.
Okay.
So it sounds like we're going to have you back. But give us a little bit more intel on you and what you did, because I know you worked on some political campaigns, and I know you also worked on some government contracting as well.
Okay. Well, SuccessStrategic.com, we are a one business development firm. So we help people actually go after the deal. We help you identify the contract opportunity. We help you position yourself to go after it. We have a partner firm that we work with that actually will write the RFP for you and help you with your estimating and bidding.
And what is an RFP?
Request for proposals.
Okay.
So when a contract hits the market, it starts out as an IDIQ, goes to an RFQ.
All right. Well, we're going to hit that. But I just wanted people to know what an RFP is.
Absolutely. And the other side of what we do is strategy. So it's typically for businesses. But in 2006, we got pulled into doing some strategy for then Governor Rendell on his re-election campaign because of his desire to have an exceeding gap of victory over his opponent. We then did a mayoral campaign the next year, and then we returned back to business because that's not really what Success Strategic is about. We are about helping people like the people who raised us, which are entrepreneurs who are serious about what they do.
Okay. So Rendell and the mayoral race, so you know your way around the political arena. So let's start talking about federal contracts. $500 billion a year. that the U.S. federal government spent in 2010. You told me that last year you did roughly $3 million in financing alone. That wasn't even talking about how many contracts that you help business owners get for federal contracting. So can you start to break it down about what a business will need to one even think about entering into the federal government's contracting procurement service or process rather?
Okay. Um, Heart.
Heart.
Okay. If they are not serious about what it is they say they do and a desire to actually grow their business, then I can't help them at all. And I'm
Okay.
sad to say, but that's very true, and that's a very, very serious reality that I need people to face before I work with them. Is a business, when you start it, is effectively an infant. How you nurture it, how you plan its future, how you plan its education track, how you feed it, the nutrition you provide it, determines its ability to grow, its ability to think creatively and critically. Right? The same goes for a business. When you organize and say, I am going to take what I do and start a business, that means you are serious about something. That means you have taken the time to either plan or seek my help in writing a plan of how you're going to actually generate revenue, right? And that is the most important. That is the most important part that I can drive home to your audience today, Kamari.
Okay. So you use the term heart. So with heart and with a business and starting a business,
Mm.
why do you need heart? Is it a scary prospect? Is it tough? Is it hard? Well,
Oh, yeah.
so all of the above, right?
All of the above, but the most important thing that it is, and this hurts when most people realize this, it is not another job. Okay? So in the last 5 years, we've seen a major shift for the worse in the job market. We've seen a lot of people attempt to enter the entrepreneur world because it's a sexy sounding name. Ooh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Yeah, right? But then they find out that the 8 hours a day they worked for John Big Business equates to 12 to 16 hours a day that they have to work for themselves. Minimum.
That's true, and I often
Okay?
find that new business owners, new to the landscape, aren't used to not having a routine. So that's one of the biggest hurdles that people have to jump over is basically reestablishing their own routine, but making sure that routine is beneficial for them and their business.
Absolutely.
So to enter into the federal government contract program, where should a business be? I mean, can a new start business jump in? Do you have to have $1 million in sales? Where can they jump in at?
That's a great question. So, effectively, to win a government contract, you have to have past performance that you've done it before.
Done what? A contract? Done the
Whatever,
service?
whatever
Done the
that,
product?
whatever as you're going after that contract, you say you do and can do well. They need usually 2 years experience of you doing it. That they can pick up the phone and call the people you say you worked for and validate and verify who you are. Now, if you don't have that, what you need is, and Kamara, we talked about this the other day, what you need is a private sector plan, right? How are you going to drive business without a government contract, right?
Right.
A great example is the 8A program that's administered by the Small Business Administration. Over 70% of the firms that earn 8A certification never win a contract.
Now
Never.
what? Now we're jumping around just a little bit, but let's come back to 8A because that's a whole nother topic in and of
Okay.
itself also.
Okay.
But a new company basically is not right for federal contracts, right?
A new company must get their footing. They have to get their accounting department or their bookkeeping system in order. They have to know how they deal with disputes, how they bid on jobs, right? How long it takes them to do things. Because when you write an RFP for the federal government, what you say you can and will do is what you are therefore expected to do.
Okay.
And when you breach, your ability to further contracts with the government becomes a little sketchy.
Okay. So zero new start businesses is not a good idea for federal contracts. So you need at least 2 years.
At least 2 years. Ideally, you should be at the 250,000 revenue mark.
So 2 years, 250,000 in revenue. Is that a sweet spot? I mean, is a sweet
No,
spot five
that's a low
employees?
bar.
That's a low bar. So what's the sweet spot? What's the ideal place for a business to be to even just to start thinking about federal contracts?
Oh no, start thinking about them at startup.
Okay.
Right? For example, 4 members of the Ask Kamari network today only on our website. Anybody registering as a client today will get a revenue plan for half price.
Okay.
Okay, so they're typically $1,000 today. For Ask Kamari guests, they're $500. And effectively, what that plan maps out, regardless of where their revenue is how they go from 0 to 60, who their target should be, what government agencies they should be going after, what corporate entities they should be going after for business relationships to drive up that revenue.
Okay. Okay. So from startup, you want to think about federal government contracts right away.
Right.
Okay. Now let's talk about the process of federal government contracts. So
Okay.
you talked about RFP earlier. So let people know what the process is for obtaining a federal government contract, or not, I can't say obtaining, to at least start the process of trying to obtain a federal government contract.
Relationships, and relationships. So effectively, every contract starts out as a need. That need then becomes a request, and they seek quotes. Where are they going to seek quotes? They're going to seek quotes from a network of people they've done business with in the past. This is what we need done. Give us a quote on what you would charge to do it, how long it would take, etc. Then it becomes an RFP. Okay, so you want to be in at the RFQ phase, so you're helping to form, in the mind of that contract officer, you're helping to form what that RFP is going to look like, what it's going to demand.
All right, we're throwing around a lot of lingo. So RFP,
Okay.
RFQ. Let's break it down. We want to make it.
RFQ
Right.
is a request for quotes.
Okay.
Okay.
So step one, an RFP is request for proposal. You said earlier, right?
And an RFP is a request for proposal.
Okay. So step one, Fed government says we need light bulbs.
Exactly.
We need light bulbs, right? So once they say, all right, we need light bulbs, they do an RFQ or an RFP.
Once they identify that they need light bulbs, they do a RFQ, a request for quotes.
Okay.
From their network of people who they know do light bulbs.
Okay.
Okay, we need 1,000 light bulbs. How much are these light bulbs likely to cost us? How long would it take you to ship them to us, etc. All right. Once they have that information, they can intelligently write an RFP, a request for proposals, from the entire country, from anybody that says that in the area where they need them. So if they're in D.C., can you deliver in D.C.? All right. If you can deliver in D.C., you should be completing and responding to the request for proposals.
Okay, right? So it starts RFQ with a small private group of business owners who are already, I guess, in the federal government contracting program. They're already approved contractors, it sounds like.
Right.
Okay. All right. Now, see, okay, maybe I took you down the wrong path.
It's okay.
How does a company become, because we're going to just back up a little bit, how does a company actually become certified to become able to do business with the federal government?
Now that's a great question. And that kind of takes us back towards the 8A, but I won't start there. Effectively, to become certified, you simply apply. Now, if it's a federal certification managed and administered, rather, by the Small Business Administration, you want to apply with your local SBA office.
Okay.
Okay. What that means is you are certified to do business with the federal government, right? Many of those certifications are self-certifying. Small disadvantaged business.
Now, what does
Okay.
self-certify mean?
Self-certifying means there is no long process. For example, the 8A certification takes a year unless you're fast-tracked, and then it takes a few months.
Now, you've thrown 8A around a couple of times. What exactly does 8A mean? What is it?
8A is a certification for small businesses that consider themselves disadvantaged. To
Okay.
become 8A, you have to prove to the Small Business Administration that you are disadvantaged.
Okay.
Disadvantage being you, as an American citizen, do not have the same opportunities as those who have historically sought after and won contracts, such as those you're going after.
Okay. So it's a special kind of classification of
Yes.
federal contractor. And I'm guessing with that classification, they get extra perks and benefits that some of the bigger, more established contractors don't have.
And that's the myth. Okay? So to be 8A, those disadvantaged statuses are you're a woman, you're a Native American, you're another minority, you're African American, etc. Okay? But the myth is, and this is why 70% of businesses that get this certification never win, the myth is that it's a welfare check of
Hmm.
sorts. The myth is that you get this certification and the clouds open up and the windows of heaven pour down money on you. Ooh, that's not the case. The case is that if you fail to plan, then you fail. Okay? Nobody wins an 8A contract unless the contracting officer knows who they are. So it's still a matter of either having a business development firm getting you in front of the right people, or you being aggressive and knowing who the right people are and knocking on their door. You can't send them cupcakes. You can't take them to dinner because they're government employees. But you can send them your capability statement, which is a one-page document that tells who you are and what you do well, what you've done in the past, and how they contact you. All right, that is one of the most important documents in this, next to a business plan.
Okay. All right. So we talked about 8A a little bit, but we didn't talk. We still haven't figured out how does a company become certified to do business with the federal government. So you
Okay.
said they apply. What is
Right.
that process like?
That process is one of verifying your race or ethnicity or whatever other class you're using to label yourself disadvantaged. That
Well, no,
process
not
is
8A.
of
It's just a regular
no
federal.
all
Oh,
all.
so this is all.
Okay.
Okay.
Whatever status you're using, if you're saying you're a veteran, you need to have documentation from the Veterans Administration. If you're saying you're a woman, well, I guess you simply provide ID. Okay. But the big difference is in all certifications is they are administered by the federal government or by the states. Now, when it comes to the states administer the U.S. Department of Transportation's DBE program,
And
which
DBE
is
stands for what?
Disadvantaged Business Enterprise.
Okay.
Okay, so if you say you're a disadvantaged business enterprise, you're saying that your net worth is less than 1.3 million, and you're saying that you consider yourself disadvantaged because of the landscape of the market that you're trying to enter. Race, ethnicity, sex are neutral because technically a white man could receive a DBE certification.
Okay. All right. So that's the state. So then on the federal level, it's administered by the SBA.
They're administered by the SBA, and that's WOSB, Women-Owned Small Business, SDVOSB, Small Disadvantaged Veteran-Owned Business, and I mean there are a number of others. HubZone. A HubZone certification is based on where your physical office is located. Your physical office, based on the census tracts, needs to be located in what's called a hub zone. All right, that's a housing and urban business development zone.
And that's just
Okay,
one other classification for this process, right? So
absolutely.
we have race, ethnicity, veteran status, location of business, and all that has to be submitted to either the SBA or the DBE, depending on which state you're in.
Right.
Do you ever register in both SBA and a state?
Now, I've seen it done aimlessly, but it's only a good move if it's done strategically. For example, a great example is going back to what you asked earlier. You're starting your business, you have a relationship at SEPTA, you used to work at SEPTA. A good move right away is to get DBE certified, right? Start going after private business, but get DBE certified through SEPTA and the UCCP, which is the Unified Certification Process, right?
Okay.
Get certified after you've already contacted your people at SEPTA and said, hey, I need help going after a contract. If you know you can get the contract, go after the contract.
Okay.
But recognize that that state is going to administer that certification, but it's a federal certification. So now because you won that contract, you're in a position to win others because you have past performance. All right?
Okay.
And that's gold. That's when you want to pursue other certifications. Now,
Okay.
if you pursue, another example is this. There are other certifications that are not federal, such as MBE, Minority Business Enterprise, WBE, Women's Business Enterprise.
Okay.
There's a new certification being launched now for the LGBT community.
Really?
I'm not sure what the acronym will be, but effectively, you identifying themselves as a disadvantaged community, they will have a certification soon as well. Those certifications can help you build a track record so that when you go after federal certifications, you have track record, you have past performance, so that you can validate to whoever you're talking to, whoever you're negotiating with, that you have the ability and capacity to win that opportunity and perform well.
So a company, let's say Kamari Inc., starts a business. He's been in business for 2 years. He's got 5 employees and 500,000 in revenue. He sells light bulbs.
Okay.
Don't send me any orders for light bulbs, folks. He wants to become government certified. So we submit the documents to the SBA and the DBE. We submit that, I'm a black guy and I don't live in the hub zone, I guess, so that wouldn't count. And then we would submit all the other criteria they may need. Do they do any audits of your books? Do they require anything else of you before they approve and say, hey, you can do business before Kamari can do business with the federal government? Is there anything else needed?
Actually, yes. So formerly known as the Central Certifying Registration, CCR, it's now SAM, which nobody knows what it means. I'm being funny. SAM.gov is a online registration site where once you have a certification, you should register your business. Without a certification, registering your business puts you in competition with major organizations that don't need certification.
Okay.
So you want to make sure you have at least one designation. And I want everybody to look at this from the side of the contracting officer who you'll be negotiating with. When they look at a business, when they're bidding out for light bulbs, they are looking to check off as many of the requirements that their managers and superiors are asking them to make sure they reach. So if they need to check off minority, they need to check off woman, they need to check off veteran, and you happen to be all three, you're the golden goose. So what you want to make sure of, to your earlier point, Kamari, is that you have every certification that applies to you.
Okay.
The only thing is, 8A is a special case. All right? And, we can get to that later, but 8A is a special case because it's an 8-year plus 1 program. So all in, it's a 9-year program that you graduate from. When you graduate, you're no longer 8A.
But
so any contract.
But we still, I know you jumped on me again though. But all right, 8A is 8 years plus 1 is 9, and then you graduate from the program, and then you can no longer be considered disadvantaged. Is that correct?
No, you're no longer considered 8A.
8A. Okay. All right. But I'm still trying to get to the point where Kamari Inc. is selling light bulbs, and when does Kamari get, I guess, an approval letter or somebody to come knock on his door and say, "Hey, Kamari, we can do business with you. Can do business with the federal government."
Okay. That's a great question, and I'm going to respond based on how you ask the question. When is somebody going to come and knock on your door and say, Kamari, you can do business with us?
Mm-hmm.
Never.
When will the government let me know that I am approved to do business?
Now, once you've pursued your certifications, you'll be contacted as soon as a decision is rendered. It's usually a yes. I mean, it's very odd to see somebody denied minority MBE status, WOSB status, VOSB status, veteran-owned business.
Okay.
That's very odd. 8A people can get denied. It's a much lengthier, much more intense application process.
Right. So Kamari Inc. is a business owner, sells light bulbs, goes to the federal contracting process, and more than likely, as long as he meets the criteria for sales and everything else, he will be accepted into the program.
Absolutely.
How long does it take?
Most certifications take 1 to 3 months.
1 to 3 months. So it's not really that long.
Not too long, but you need to plan for it.
Okay. Now we have a question from the listening audience, and it's from Angelia. I'm going to get to Angelina. I'm going to get to it. Just give me 1 second. My phone is ringing off the hook here today. I guess that's a good thing, Rich. So you go through how about that? You go through the whole process, 1 to 3 months, and you said once you start your business from the ground floor, you said that you should be thinking about this. So if you're planning this, you need 2 years. Hopefully you got some things lined up. So probably somewhere between your 2 year and your 2 year and 6 month benchmark or anniversary, you should be planning for applying to becoming a federal certified contractor. Is that a good?
I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm always thinking of, we want to have tangible takeaways for people that watch Lunch Money and don't just want to have us sit here and have us talk and listen to us talk for the sake of talking. Right. I want them to be able to have, actionable things they can do and things they can think about. Now, the question is, why is race an issue? Why does the government want to know about race?
Sorry, just writing it down. Race is an issue because of the civil rights movement. The civil rights movement did not only create equality for all citizens, but it also had riders, which are laws attached to the laws, which created equality for contractors. Discrimination didn't just happen at the lunch counter and at the water fountain, but it also happened at the deal table. And the discrimination was very overt, it was very blatant, and laws have been put in place, and these certifications have been put in place in an attempt to level the playing field so that anyone of any race can supposedly have an opportunity to compete. So race is an issue because race has always been an issue in this nation, and federal certifications and other business certifications are the government's response to that in an attempt to level the playing field so that everybody can compete.
So I don't know the exact timing of it in the laws, but I'm guessing this is piggyback on to voting rights and also affirmative action. So when affirmative action laws hit in the late 60s, early 70s, I'm guessing
late 60s, early 70s.
They also amended some of the federal contracting to, like you said, level the playing field.
A little later, but yeah, it was
a little
the
70s.
Later. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So now Kamari Inc. has been accepted. Should Kamari Inc. now go to become an 8A, go for his 8A certification, or is 8A certification also a part of becoming accepted into the federal program to be a contractor?
8A certification, because of how long it takes to get and because of the short amount of time you're allowed to be in it, is a very special case. I want to deal with the mindset of the entrepreneur first, right? if you get an 8A certification, knowing that in the federal government, and this is the main reason people go after it, in the federal government there are contracts called set-asides. They are called 8A set-asides, which means that that agency or department wishes to only give that contract to someone with 8A certification.
Okay.
Those with a strategy on how to position themselves in such a way as to win those contracts usually do very well. All right? They do very well for 9 years, and at the end of 9 years, they think they have a relationship, not realizing the facts, which are that they had an 8A certification, which they no longer have. So a lot of firms lose an extensive amount of revenue the year after and the 2 years after as those contracts start to expire. They lose revenue because they put all of their eggs in the 8A basket.
Okay. Now, I've had clients in the past who have had to deal with this, and I know a lot of times what they did was they partnered with new and upcoming 8A firms as a subcontractor / contractor type relationship. Right. So can you speak to that as well?
Absolutely.
Mean, is that what, is that another strategy? Because I know also some folks first coming into the 8A program will also partner with 8A firms who are about to age out as well to make sure that they maintain the relationship and the contract.
Great point. So to make sure they maintain the contract, to make sure that they can still drive revenue, because what they're saying almost, if you really take a look at these firms, is all they know is the government space. They do not have a private sector plan for driving business. So they join in, they sign up for, and they leverage, which is how firms win. That is a major part of any 8A strategy, is the mentor-protege relationship. Identifying a prime contractor or identifying a current or past 8A firm that can help you go after those contracts, that can help you win, that can joint venture with you. Okay. You want me to break down joint venture, or just
I do want you to break down joint venture.
Okay. So a firm that can joint venture with you to go after a contract. Effectively, what joint venturing is two firms identifying that they can both do the work, both bring to the table what their special value add is, what that thing that they do better than anyone is, to build a relationship where both profit. All right? That is the bottom line of joint venturing. There should be no emotion in it, just like there should never be any emotion in the teaming agreement. All right? Everything should be spelled out, from the color ink pens you'll use to sign contracts, to who will do what and when they will do it, and who will be held accountable, how, etc. What accounting service will be used. Everything should be spelled out. Because the last thing you want is to win a contract, get to work, and learn that you can't work together because you didn't spell out the details of how you work together.
Now, you said that you should take emotions off the table when doing this.
Oh my God. Yes.
But in order to work well together, people have to have good chemistry. I mean, there needs to be some kind of symmetry there. So how do you develop that in the beginning?
There are a number of types of chemistry. All right. I don't need to feel anything for you to have good chemistry with you at the business table. All right. I am great at negotiating, identifying opportunities, and bringing those opportunities back to my clients. But I cannot write an RFP. All right, writing an RFP is a special skill. It is a very technical writing style that is best left to lawyers and the like. So a lawyer who has a track record of successfully writing RFPs can team up with me any day of the week without hugging me or baking me cookies.
I get that. I totally get that. But someone teaming up with you to write an RFP versus someone doing a joint venture, because there's a difference, unless you're proposing a joint venture with this lawyer. but someone proposing to do a joint venture for a federal contract,
Mhm.
because I'm assuming the smallest federal contract is probably six figures or either a high five figures.
No, the
No.
smallest contracts, and every contract officer usually has authority to bid out contracts under a certain dollar value on
Okay.
their own.
So what's the
Right?
smallest contract you've ever seen?
Smallest contract I've ever seen was $12,000,
Okay. So you probably won't need a joint venture on a $12,000
and
contract.
you won't need me.
Right. But so I'm thinking for a joint venture contract is at least 100,000 or more. So when you're doing business of that size and that scale, not to say 100,000 is a lot because it's actually not in the grand scheme of things. But I think there needs to be some kind of chemistry, a good working relationship needs to be had, because what if there are no blue pens at the store and you say, hey, we brought black pens, and it then becomes a problem that you can't work out. So then what happens?
Well, I think you know what. As I hear you reiterate your question, I think I hear what you're saying, and I think the real key is respect.
Okay.
All right, mutual respect for one another, mutual respect for the skills and value that each other bring to the table, and but that all needs to be clarified on paper.
So, but
Um,
I'm guessing you shouldn't even get to the table unless there is a mutual level of respect for
absolutely,
one another. Okay.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. You
Okay.
should vet each other. You should see each other's CAPE statements. You should see each other's financials.
And a
You should
CAPE
know
statement is
capability statement
okay.
tells who the company is, what they do, how they've done it in the past.
Okay.
You should open your books up to each other if you're doing a joint venture. All
Okay.
right, because you need to know, like, yes, this is not fluff. I didn't make this up. I did win these contracts. I performed well. Here are my references. I mean, put it all out there.
Okay. All right. So we talked about joint venturing, 8A, phasing out of 8A, and making sure you're able to remain in the program by joint venturing. What else should people think about when it comes to federal contract, whether it's for 8A program or anything else?
Well, they should think about why they started the business. So I'm a fan of Stephen Covey, and one thing that Stephen Covey always said in his books was, begin with the end in mind. So are you starting this business for your family? Is this a legacy business that you want to build? If so, how do you see it? How big do you see it? And how will you make it what you see? Right? If it's something you recognized an opportunity or a need in the market, you saw yourself possibly being able to make $5 to $10 million fulfilling or being a solution to that need. Okay, so when do you sell the business? Who do you sell the business to? And how do you position the business to be acquired when it reaches the level that you want to grow it to?
What if you don't want to sell the business? What if you just want to give it to your son or your daughter?
Then it's a legacy business. Legacy businesses are great to work with. There's always one challenge um, with building a legacy business, and that is passing the torch. Right? When do you give in to the need for a succession plan? When do you say it's time to groom the next CEO of this company? Because most founders, because they nurtured, remember, a business starts as an infant,
Mm-hmm.
because they nurtured that infant. Most founders are just like, mom was when you went away to college. Like, whoa, my baby. Wait, what? Wait, no, hold on. I have to hold on to that. I can't give that away yet, and that sometimes limits the ability for the organization to grow and be successful, because new set of eyes, a fresh perspective is needed to take it to the next level.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about what industries you think are best fits for federal contracts. So, we talked about my business. I'm an investment and tax advisor. Doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of opportunities for me to take advantage of federal contracts. So it's probably never something I should think about.
No.
No?
No. Now see, that's a great example. Let's just use you. So Ask Kamari Incorporated identifies a contract from the Department of Education.
Technically, my firm's name is the Ascension Group.
Okay. So Kamari Ellis, all right, of the Ascension Group, identifies a contract with the Department of Education to do financial literacy programming. In the contract's place of performance is New Jersey. First thing you need to ask yourself is, can you deliver?
Okay.
If you can deliver, if you can get to or get someone to New Jersey to teach those financial literacy classes, then that's a contract you should be going after.
Okay. Now you talked about strategy before. How would I prove that my firm is competent in doing or delivering the educational training, because we're not in the system? So how do you go about that process?
The way you prove you're competent and capable of doing it is, one, by having done it before. Right? So you never want to go after a federal contract that you've never performed on before, because you simply won't win it.
Okay.
Okay. But what you want to do, once you know, okay, I'm Kamari Ellis, the Ascension Group has done this before. There's an opportunity in Jersey for a contract for $150,000 to create and run a financial literacy program.
Okay.
You need to internally weigh the pros and cons of travel, cost of operating, how you're going to actually deliver what you
materials.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. How are you going to do it and do it well, so that you can leverage that experience to win future contracts?
Okay.
Every contract you go after isn't just about bringing in money, but it's about building your reputation, all right, for the future.
So let's talk about that. We're about 15 minutes away from our end time, but you said every contract shouldn't necessarily be for money. So I'm guessing you mean for profit. I'm assuming you mean that this is a strategic way of setting yourself up to get bigger and better contracts and to show capability. Is that what you mean?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's exactly what I mean. Like, for example, client in DC going after a project, the bid he put in put him at a 1% profit.
A
1% profit.
So that's profit margin?
Now, profit margin, right.
But
now,
if it's high volume, I don't know what he's selling.
It's not high volume. It's a construction project. Right?
Okay.
The construction industry as of late is seeing, on average, 1 to 5 profit margins. 1 to 5% of the deal shows a profit to that company. All right, so that's what profit margin is.
So basically, after it's all said and done,
winning that contract, even at 1%, puts him in a position to, when that contract is completed, be able to say that he won a $1.2 million contract to pour concrete. Okay? And that is experience that's worth, quite frankly, a profit of no more than $12,000.
Right, that's what I was going to say. It's probably about $10,000 to $12,000. So after it's all said and done, he's paid all his bills, paid all his employees. He walks away.
And paid himself.
And paid himself.
Remember, business owners, you are a line item. You are not just profit. If you're eating all the profits, we got a problem.
Right.
Right.
So that means the firm walked away with $12,000.
Exactly.
Okay. So you think that's a good strategy? Now I'm guessing
it's an acceptable loss, is what I consider it.
Well, it's not a loss. He can still put $12,000 into his pocket, but
it's not a lot of money.
It's not a lot of money, and you also have to weigh in opportunity costs. You know, could he have used his resources more efficiently and more profitably in other concrete pouring projects.
Right.
Okay. All right. So is there anything else? Well, let me back up. So what industries do you think really lend itself well? So you talked about mine, the financial services industry could go after financial literacy contracts, but is there any other contracts you see high reward rates, whether it's for construction, light bulbs, things of that nature?
I have seen, while surfing fedbizops.gov.
That's FedBizOps, and this is going to be a blog post on my Ask Kamari site. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna list all of these.
FBO.gov is the go-to place to look up contract opportunities
Okay.
currently available with the federal government.
And the other one was, what was the other one? FedBizOps.
That's FBO.gov.
Okay. All right.
I'm trying not to give out acronyms, so I'm
All right.
trying to make sure I spell everything out. I know people are listening, but that is one place to go if you are curious. If any of your listeners are curious about whether or not what you do is of value to the federal government, is something that they purchase, that is where you go to find out. And you type in what you do as the keyword, and let's see what comes up. Let's see what opportunities are out there. Scroll through 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages. See what's there. All right? Those are opportunities that are available now. Okay? On FBO.gov. Those are opportunities that are available right now.
So I'm on FBO.gov right now, and I'm looking. They put out an RFQ for calendars.
There you go. Are you a printer? Do you print calendars? Have you printed calendars in the past? Go after it.
Very interesting. Very interesting. All right. Well, we've got about 10 minutes left. Any other parting words of wisdom? Anything else you think that's really valuable to know about the federal contracting space, the business development space, that you want to impart on folks before you go?
Absolutely. The few things I want to drive home are, one, if you don't believe in what you do, you'll never be able to sell it. Okay? So be sure that every opportunity you get, you work it like you were working for your mama. I mean, your favorite person on earth is who you're doing this for, and if you don't do a good job, they're going to be disappointed in you, because I promise your wallet will be disappointed in you if you don't do a good job.
Okay.
Okay? That's one. Two, the way you start is the way you finish. Just like with relationships. The way you start is the way you finish. No lies, no bull. Okay? You say you can do something by such and such a date for such and such an amount of money, do it. Because integrity is number one in this world.
Okay.
Right? Third, right, do not only focus on federal contracts. There will come a time when who knows what may happen. You go 8A, you graduate. You work on a project, things go wrong, a dispute doesn't get resolved, and now you've got a black mark on your federal contracting record. And you won't be seeing federal contracts for a little while. So you need to never have all of your eggs in one basket.
What's a little while if you got a black mark? How long?
A little while until your lawyer can reincorporate you under a different name and you can build up a track record again and go back at it.
So that's at least another 3 to 5 years possibly.
3 to 5 years, and as far as that business entity, it's usually never, right? So you need to reincorporate. You need to start from scratch.
So if a company gets into trouble with, with the federal government, the contracting situation, they will have to shut down, reincorporate.
If they can't resolve the dispute.
Right. If they can't resolve the dispute, they have to shut down, reincorporate, and go after the business all over again. Now, when the contracting officers see your name on the signature line, do they say, "Hey, that's a red flag. I know this guy. He did something wrong before." No.
No. Now, one thing that will come up. Okay, so one red flag that will come up is questions specifically about owners of the business are usually come up on the financing side. So
Okay.
if you come to me and you say, Rich, I've got this contract, I need 250,000 to meet payroll, or I'm going to lose the contract. The lender's going to want to know, have you had any, you know, losses? Have you been sued by the federal government? Things of that nature. All right. So to drive the whole point back home, if you have any dispute with an officer of the federal government, you want to resolve it as quickly and as kindly as possible. All right, because you just do not want any kind of a ding on your record.
Okay. Okay. Another question I just thought of: when you're going for these contracts, the government has various departments: Department of Transportation, Department of Homeland Security. Is it different? Is the contracting process different for each one of the departments, or is it just all centralized?
It's by department, so that's a great question. But there are nuances to how each department does business, to how the agencies in those departments do business. For example, the Department of Defense, things are usually centralized until you get to JSOC, which is the arm of the Department of Defense that manages the Navy SEALs, until you get to certain other agencies that have pretty much autonomy in how they manage their budgets. So you want to know who you're dealing with, you want to know what their process is, and that is something I can help people with.
Okay. Okay. So you gotta know who your market is and who you're dealing with. Each one of the departments has a different focus, so to speak. Phone keeps ringing. Excuse me. Well, we're coming into the last 5 minutes. Please give the listening audience, the watching audience, your information. Let them know where they can find Rich Lassiter and how you can be of service and help to them.
Okay. Again, I'm Rich. Those who are watching today, we have revenue growth plans that start at $1,000, which you can take advantage of for $500 because you're a viewer of the Kamari Show, and you can find that here at successstrategic.com. If you need to reach out to us directly, our phone number is 202-656-6040. All right. Do a lot of activity in D.C., federal government. So that's why our office number is a D.C. number.
Okay. And one last question.
Please.
They wanted to know if you were hiring. Someone wants to know. They sent in a question. They want to know if you're hiring.
Entrepreneurs don't think in terms of jobs. They think in terms of opportunities. Now, there are opportunities for entrepreneurs to possibly team with me on projects coming up in the future, and I'll make that public at that time, but no, there are no jobs available with successstrategic.com.
Okay. All righty. Well, thank you, sir. I definitely appreciate you here, and I want to thank everyone who watched. Hopefully everyone brown paper bagged their lunch today, ate something healthy, had some carrots, possibly an apple. But make sure you got some good nutrition in you, and hopefully we gave you some good financial nutrition as well to help power up not only your brain and your heart, but also power up your wallet. So we're going to be doing this every week. Every week we're going to have a special guest on talking about issues revolving around money, revolving around business, and basically how to elevate your overall financial and monetary situation. So again, I'm Kamari Ellis. Thanks for watching, and we will be back next Tuesday at noon. Now, this is just a quick plug. I'm doing major launches. So I'm also going to be launching another show on Monday, which will be all about investing. It'll be